Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel Growing with God. Today, I want to answer the question, are we alone in the universe? So, over the centuries, humanity has been getting more and more advanced by creating things like electricity and scientific instruments that, have really helped us understand our world. But one negative result of this though is that we begin to feel that, maybe this is it. Maybe there isn't really a God and it's just us and our machines. But today, I would like to try to use the Bible to discuss this idea of whether we are alone in the universe or not. And I think a great place to start would be 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 44, as it tells us that yes, there are two different kinds of bodies. This verse reads, "It is sown a natural body. It is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body." And the question that some may ask is, if these bodies do exist, then why haven't we seen them yet? But the reason why is because spiritual bodies have certain properties that cannot be detected through physical methods. First off, they are invisible, as we see from 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 17, where it says, "Now unto the King eternal, immortal, invisible, the only wise God, be honor and glory forever and ever. Amen." So a telescope cannot take a picture of an invisible being. And second, they have no flesh or bones or other physical components like this. As Jesus Christ said in Luke chapter 24, verse 39. God also lives in heaven, as said in Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. And heaven is not a specific location in the universe like, Saturn or the Milky Way is, but it's a place that cannot be traveled to. And also, spirits do not have any specific wavelengths of radio waves emitted, so he cannot be discovered by many of the observatories that we have set up or radio signals that we may try to receive. And because of God's spiritual nature, he can neither be proven nor disproven using science. Job said this based on this knowledge in Job chapter 11, verse 7, where it says, "Canst thou by searching find out God? Canst thou find out the Almighty unto perfection?" Job answered this question in Job chapter 36, verse 26, where he said, "Behold, God is great, and we know him not. Neither can the number of his years be searched out." However, even though God does not have any physical, detectable presence, he is still able to cause things on this earth, which we can use to prove his existence, as was said by St. Paul in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, where it says, "For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse." The best way we can do this is through the signs of the times, in Matthew chapter 24, where it talks about the things that God and Christ's kingship would be causing in our time. Things like the wars we see across the globe, especially with, World Wars 1 and 2 that were predicted in verse 7, and pestilences, like the natural disasters and plagues that we see in our current time, and other signs that we see around like this. And the fact that these predictions were made through the inspiration from God and are coming to pass now means that God must have had a hand in these matters. And these kinds of extreme events also happened to people in the past too, like what happened with the 10 plagues in Exodus chapters 7 to 12. And these disasters were also caused by God in the same way. And furthermore, we also see in 1 Kings chapter 12, verses 12 to 25, in which King Rehoboam went against what common sense would have told him and decided to listen to the advice of young men who had absolutely no political experience, rather than to the old men who ruled with his father. And this might just sound like a really bad decision on the king's part, but what really happened is that the spirits had a hand in this, as verse 15 clearly stated. "Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord, that he might perform his saying, which the Lord spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat." And King Solomon said in Proverbs chapter 21, verse 1, "The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will." However, many people in our time find it increasingly difficult to see God in these matters. So they think that they're all just, natural events that happen from day to day. My advice is to, train ourselves to think in this spiritual way and think about what hand God may have in our matters, as that is the only way we can get to understand God and achieve life in peace. But anyway, I can stop here on answering the question, are we alone in the universe? No. There are many spirits. There's God, there's Jesus Christ. And all these spirits have a very important hand in the matters that happen in this world. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, I will greatly appreciate if you hit that like button down below and also to click that subscribe button. And finally, to click that notification bell so you'll always be aware of when we come out with new Growing with God videos. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.